माननीय राष्ट्रपति महोदय, आपकी आज्ञा हो तो समारोह प्रारंभ किया जाए। जी। कैबिनेट मंत्री श्री नारायण तातू राणे। कैबिनेट मंत्री श्री नारायण तातू राणे।
मैं नारायण तातू राणे ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं नारायण तातू राणे ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति को या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि जैसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्य का सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संशोधित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
Interesting that the first person to be sworn in was Narayan Rane, someone who was actually an import from, earlier Shiv Sena Congress.
Yes, Vasu, but I think they are following an order. The government released a document of 43 names.
Yes.
And they're following that order. So in that order, Mr. Narayan Rane was right at the top. So you can understand that he may in fact be in seniority.
That's right.
The senior
as a
most,
former chief minister.
The senior most of the cabinet ministers in this fresh lot who have been inducted.
Correct. As a former chief minister, though Sarbanand Sonowal is also there. But from the seniority
I think in the Maharashtra dynamics, Vasu, you would know more. He's very significant. From Sena to Congress to BJP, he's a former chief minister of Maharashtra, Indian politician, has been quite a powerful leader. Right. Sarbananda Sonowal comes up next, another former chief minister who is being rewarded for his quote-unquote sacrifice to let Himanta Biswa Sarma take over. He served as sports minister in Modi 1.0.
I, Sarbananda Sonowal, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a minister for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. I, Sarbananda Sonowal, do swear in the name of God that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person or persons any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as a minister for the Union, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such minister.
Of course, Sarbanand Sonowal being rewarded for that sacrifice, making space for Himanta Biswa, but also he belongs to the members of what are called the indigenous communities of Assam. So also ticks that box which the government is trying to underline with this exercise.
Absolutely.
That they are trying to do this as a kind of social engineering project as well.
Absolutely. And he is also an LLB graduate from Guwahati University. A lot has to be said about the educational qualification this time around, because we've been told that that has been a key focus in having decided who the ministers are going to be. Next minister most probably who will be sworn in is Dr. Virendra Kumar. Dr. Virendra Kumar is going to be sworn.
मैं डॉक्टर वीरेंद्र कुमार ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या देश के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं डॉक्टर वीरेंद्र कुमार ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
So Vasu, that was Dr. Viren Kumar, Lok Sabha MP from Tikamgarh in Madhya Pradesh. He's one of the senior most parliamentarians as far as the BJP is concerned. In fact, in the parliament, he is in the past served as the Union Minister of State for Women and Child Development and Minority Affairs under Prime Minister Modi. So this is in a way his re-entry.
Six-time MP. Six-time MP it seems. So
correct.
Perhaps that's why right up there.
Right. Next up is Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia.
श्री ज्योतिरादित्य एम सिंधिया।
मैं ज्योतिरादित्य माधवराव सिंधिया ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वाह करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं ज्योतिरादित्य माधवराव सिंधिया ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में मैं अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष या अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
So, Sanket, do you want to at this point take a quick stab, guess at what portfolio Jyotiraditya Scindia is getting?
Absolutely not. I won't hazard that guess, but it's going to be a big portfolio and it will be a cabinet minister rank portfolio.
Right, and something that he's waited for close to a year, so I guess the anticipation would be that.
And in previous terms, he was a Union Minister of State independent charge. So he was already that rank.
So,
श्री रामचंद्र प्रसाद सिंह।
Ramchandra Prasad Singh from
the JDU.
The JDU.
Yes.
So these are the JDU inductees.
मैं रामचंद्र प्रसाद सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं रामचंद्र प्रसाद सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय, जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
So Sanket, JDU of course coming in, but
By the way, he's the only person from the JDU, Vasu. That's the big information.
yes,
that
they wanted I think 4.
They wanted 4, they've got 1, and they've settled for it, which they did not last time around. So this is very, very significant. RCP Singh is also the president, national president of the JDU.
Correct.
So this is a big induction. It's also being said that I think after one person after the announcement now is going to be the price that the JDU allegedly delivered to Narendra Modi. That is breaking the LJP. Now Ashwini Vaishnav from Odisha.
मैं अश्विनी वैष्णव ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना।
So Vasu, this is a significant induction because he is a former IAS officer of 1994 batch.
Correct.
If you remember, the Modi government said that we'll give priority to people who have administrative background. So that's what they seem to have done.
No, that's true. In fact, for those of us who were around at this time, he was part of the Vajpayee PMO, and one sort of recalls him from those days, and he's Wharton, Pennsylvania University, IIT Kanpur. So he's a little closer to that kind of technocrat model that the government said
He's
would be
in fact
given
even
space.
worked in leadership roles with GE and Siemens.
Right. So
Companies like that.
So with these possible economic ministries falling vacant, you know,
Correct.
could he be a dark horse for any of them? We'll have to wait and see.
Correct. In fact, the PPP framework, he's also credited for doing great stuff as far as the public-private partnership framework is concerned. Next up is the uncle who got himself a kurta, Pashupati Kumar Paras.
Shri Pashupati Kumar Paras.
So this is actually something that has been contested already, Sanket, by the nephew, who says he's gone to court.
Yes.
Saying that LJP, I mean that his uncle is not the LJP. So Chirag Paswan is contesting this, says he's written to the Prime Minister as well. But that hasn't prevented Mr. Paswan's brother from taking his place.
ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूँगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूँगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूँगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूँगा। मैं पशुपति कुमार पारस ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवा जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों को सभ्य निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित होगा हो मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूँगा।
Now Vasu, this is a controversial induction because as you were rightly mentioning, Chirag Paswan is planning to drag this induction to court.
Sure.
Because as far as the government is concerned, they look at this as an allotment to the LJP quota.
Correct.
Whereas Chirag Paswan says, I am the real LJP, not my uncle.
Also, Ramvilas Paswan was always very keen on and got the railways portfolio a number of times. Let's see if his brother
Correct.
is similarly rewarded.
In his latest avatar, he had food and supplies. So one really doesn't know what he'll get. Next up, Vasu, is a very, very interesting elevation from the Bharatiya Janata Party. The big organization's man, Bhupendra Yadav.
Yes. That is interesting, Sanket, because you already had Mr. Amit Shah entering the government. Now you have another big point person for the BJP, Bhupendra Yadav, also entering the government. So in that sense, you know, two big point persons for the party. But interesting choice.
Okay, so
It's
a
Rijiju,
slight
in
change
fact.
in the order. That's Kiran Rijiju.
Yes.
Kiran Rijiju, which means that these are the swearing-ins happening of all those people who've been promoted.
Correct.
So Mr. Rijiju has now been promoted.
ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं किरण रिजिजू ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
Pankaj, sorry, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, Vasu, so this is a big elevation. This is a big elevation
Yes.
of Kiran Rijiju.
But why? That's what I'm trying to understand. Kiran Rijiju, Minister of Sports. So just as we are still not clear why people like Javadekar and Ravi Shankar Prasad were dropped, it's not entirely clear what would lead to Mr. Rijiju's promotion.
I think a lot of stuff that he did as sports minister by promoting talent, by conducting various programs, the Fit India movement, I think a lot of that credit is being given to Kiran Rijiju. In that sense,
also Northeast.
And the Northeast, correct, absolutely. That is former Home Secretary, Mr. R.K. Singh.
मैं राजकुमार सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं राजकुमार सिंह ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसा मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
Sanket, another curious promotion there.
Very curious promotion.
R.K. Singh, Power Minister. We didn't hear too much of the Power Ministry. Nothing spectacular coming out of it. Nothing controversial either. Just sort of, driving on the middle of the road. But he's landed a big promotion there.
I think staying low-key could have gone in his favor. And he has been largely non-controversial.
But then look at Hardeep Puri. He's the opposite of low-key.
Ambassador Hardeep Puri is next, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's been out there batting on a front foot and he's got promoted.
Well, the man behind the Central Vista.
Exactly, and it's aggressive defense of the Central Vista.
I, Hardeep Singh Puri, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a Minister for the Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. I, Hardeep Singh Puri, do swear in the name of God that I will not directly or indirectly communicate or reveal to any person or persons any matter which shall be brought under my consideration or shall become known to me as a Minister for the Union, except as may be required for the due discharge of my duties as such Minister.
So Vasu, 10 people so far have taken oath as cabinet ministers. This is very interesting. 7 new and up to this moment 3 of the old who were either MOS or MOS independent charge.
What's your take on Hardeep Puri? One gets a sense he might be headed for one of these big economic portfolios, which may be up for grabs.
Entirely possible, but I mean, he's doing a pretty good job defending the Central Vista. So maybe it's just his elevation in his profile and not really a change in his ministry. Anything can happen.
Right.
Sri Mansukh Mandavia.
Okay, Mansukh Mandavia, another elevation. Very significant elevation again. He is from Gujarat.
Shipping Minister.
Yes. Represents Gujarat. He has also been elevated.
मनसुख मांडविया ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं मनसुख मांडविया ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
Okay, Sanket. So again, Sanket, one can always try to retrofit an explanation, but it never is entirely clear why someone like Mansukh Bhai Mandavia gets elevated and why someone like a Javadekar gets the axe. So
I can tell you why.
Interesting.
There are Gujarat elections due later in 2022.
Yes.
So this could be an elevation hinted towards that. See, there is a mix. One can say that merit is a big cause of this portfolio allocation or this elevation, but it's got a lot to do with politics.
No, of course. Political accommodation is central.
Okay, now Mr. Bhupendra Yadav, two-term MP he's originally from Ajmer in Rajasthan, 52 years old. The new organizations man has really helped the BJP.
Yes.
भारत के
being sworn in
संविधान
as a
के प्रति
minister.
श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं भूपेंद्र यादव ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
Sanket, I mean the thing is that even with like Mr. Bhupendra Yadav, even when leaders leave the party, they don't quite leave the party. So it's quite likely he'll continue to be sort of a point person for the party in elections and so on.
Yeah, but you
like
know,
we've
his
seen with Amit Shah as
parliamentary
well.
experience, perhaps my Prime Minister wants to use because he's been in a leadership position across various parliamentary committees.
Yeah.
He's also an advocate of the Supreme Court. So, besides being a strong organizations man, perhaps his skill set can be put to some good use.
Right. And now we have another leader from Gujarat.
Mr. Rupala.
मैं परसोत्तम खोड़ाभाई रूपाला ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं परसोत्तम खोड़ाभाई रूपाला ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
Okay, so Purushottam Rupala, another elevation from Gujarat.
Gujarat, correct.
As you put it, keeping an eye perhaps on the Gujarat elections. Minister, I believe, of the state of Panchayati Raj.
Correct.
Again, one can't really sort of see what was the merit
see, these
there
are,
in
as you said,
elevation
these
other
are
than
some
political.
Political considerations are definitely at play. This time around is going to be particularly difficult for the BJP in Gujarat. So they want to put their house in order in that state. It's the home state of the Prime Minister. So it'll be quite bad if the BJP is seen losing there. G. Kishan Reddy, another elevation.
Minister of State for Home.
MOS Home from Telangana. One state where the BJP is keeping a very close eye. Who can forget the manner in which the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation elections were fought by the BJP?
Right.
G. Kishan Reddy elevated.
मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं गंगापुरम किशन रेड्डी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब की सिवाय जबकि ऐसी मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
You know, interesting Sanket that Mr. Kishan Reddy chose to take his oath in Hindi, though he's from Telangana.
But also, by the way, in Hyderabad and nearby areas, and particularly in Telangana, there's a great influence of Urdu and Hindi.
Great influence of Urdu.
It's a huge constituency, Hindi-speaking constituency.
But also, he is the first South Indian, minister from the South,
absolutely,
who's taken an oath. They're a bit thin on the ground when it comes to the South. You know, all this talk of representation, there's him, there's Shobha Karandlaje, and there's Dr. Murugan from Tamil Nadu. There are only 3 people in this list of 43, at least as far as I could count.
Shri Anurag Singh Thakur.
Okay, again, the last of the big elevations of the day, Anurag Thakur is now walking up. He was MOS Finance all this while.
And he's getting elevated.
He's getting elevated.
Despite the state of the economy.
मैं अनुराग सिंह ठाकुर ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय, पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं अनुराग सिंह ठाकुर ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
So, Sanket, this is curious because, as we say, junior minister in a ministry where we've seen a huge amount of governance stress. We all remember the incendiary speeches he made during the Delhi elections. The election commission had actually docked him, and here he's been elevated.
Well, yes, that's true. But his political utility. He's a young leader. He's
Himachal Pradesh.
He's from Himachal Pradesh. That state is also going to polls. A lot of this poll arithmetic has been done, and also he's liked a lot by the Prime Minister. I can tell you that. So it'll be curious to see what portfolio he gets this time around. This is a big elevation. By the way, 14 cabinet ministers have been sworn in so far.
It's already been half an hour and 14 have been sworn in. That's just about a third, Sanket. So this is going to be a long haul.
Yeah.
Almost 43 in total.
That's Pankaj Chaudhary. Pankaj Chaudhary is a Lok Sabha. Now the UP guys are here.
ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति
He's from Maharajganj in Uttar Pradesh. He's serving his 6th term as MP. He has served as the deputy mayor of Gorakhpur. So Purvanchal is what the government is hoping to target with this particular induction. Remember, UP elections just 6 months away, and this Purvanchal face that they've brought into the cabinet is very, very significant, Vasu.
Right. But that's the interesting question I wanted to ask you, Sanket, because, if you look at the names from UP, whether it's Pankaj Chaudhary, apparently there's a Mr. B.L. Verma, Ajay Mishra, Kaushal Kishore, etc.
Yeah.
These are not the big names that many had expected. Rita Bahuguna is not there. Even Varun Gandhi's name was doing the rounds at the last minute. Some said Ravi Kishan may be flying into Delhi. But largely the names out of UP seem to be relative unknowns.
Absolutely. I think there is a lot of study that has gone into what the UP name should be. So anyone who is extremely prominent from Uttar Pradesh has perhaps not made the cut. So Varun Gandhi was extremely visible, known, has not made the cut. Rita Bahuguna Joshi has not made the cut.
Right.
Whereas a Pankaj Chaudhary from Gorakhpur. Gorakhpur, by the way, is the home turf of the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath.
Yes.
So he has been brought in. Very, very interesting choice.
Right. The only prominent name in that UP list is, frankly, Anupriya Patel.
She's up next, I believe.
Who's up next? Who's been a steadfast ally. So, and I believe has also been a minister of state in the past. So
yes, she was a minister, was dropped in Modi 2.0.
Yeah.
And I think the calculation very much was that perhaps this induction can come in a little later. In the expansion, finally the induction happening. This has again a lot to do with perhaps fixing NDA and not the BJP.
Sure.
That is making sure that if there is a situation in Uttar Pradesh where you need alliance partners,
yes,
you have friends who stand by you.
No, of course. And ticks also the entire social engineering box.
Correct.
Anupriya Patel, Apna Dal, the Kurmi vote, and also age and also female representation in the cabinet. So, a number of boxes there.
Yeah, absolutely. But though she's relatively new and slightly inexperienced, if you were to talk about political experience, only a second term MP, was Union Minister of State for Health under Modi 1.0, but then did not make the cut in the second term, but now is back. I think this has every bit to do with the political compulsions of Uttar Pradesh, where the BJP wants to make sure that at a time when they've lost O.P. Rajbhar and at a time when alliances are few and far between,
yes,
so old alliance partners remain with them. And Apna Dal has in fact really stood with the BJP, whether it was 2014
yes,
or 2019, even 2017.
And also, Sanket, her party's presence in that eastern region of UP, right, abutting and around the Prime Minister's own constituency, so they're quite a crucial factor there.
Absolutely.
So you'd want to have them on your side.
Absolutely. And they've been accorded that honor also in the first tenure and in the second tenure as well, only now. So the first 2 years one thought that the BJP has forgotten about Apna Dal,
right,
but they're very much back.
So in my list, Sanket, I have 8 new ministers of the inductees, 8 from Uttar Pradesh, which is the single largest grouping amongst the inductees.
But that has to be the case because you're talking about UP.
Yes.
It has 80 MPs, it has 403 MLAs. This is a state like no other. But that's Mr. Baghel, by the way, Professor S.P. Singh Baghel, Lok Sabha MP from Agra.
मैं प्रोफेसर एसपी सिंह बघेल ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा
amongst
और निष्ठा रखूंगा.
The list of MPs from UP, or just generally amongst the list of ministers being sworn in today who are relative unknowns.
No, by the way, Vasu, he's not unknown.
Okay.
He's quite prominent. Fifth term as MP. He has served as a cabinet minister for animal husbandry, fisheries, and minor irrigation in Uttar Pradesh.
Yes.
MLA of the UP Legislative Assembly. A PhD in military science, by the way.
No, of course, he's been a minister in UP, but what I meant is that in terms of someone who's being elevated or brought into the union cabinet, is not amongst the better known faces. But
absolutely.
Sure. I mean, one would have to wait and see whether he performs.
I think again, Vasu, this is simple calculation that is done by the Prime Minister to have a mix of prominent faces and the not so prominent faces, because that's how the Prime Minister likes to function.
Yes.
This gives him a great handle to say that, look, I am awarding and rewarding everyone. That's how my cabinet works.
Yeah.
You don't have to be only a son and daughter of someone or someone of prominence or a very big face to be in my cabinet.
Right. And with this, I wonder if we've reached the last of the cabinet ministers, and now whether from here on out we move to the MOSs. Of course, one will have to wait and see.
Rajiv Chandrasekhar is up next.
Yes.
Rajya Sabha MP from Karnataka, third term as MP.
Yeah, he's sort of
prominent personality.
Yeah, media. Let's be direct. Media mogul.
Media mogul, entrepreneur, Mr. Moneybags.
So this was, I think, Sanket, an interesting name that came in. At least as far as I could recall, I didn't come across his name in all the speculation that was doing the rounds. But obviously, again, I guess to also bring in more of a South presence, which is
one South presence, and secondly, as you saw the initial note from the Prime Minister's office, the PMO sources, of getting in more people who are educated, who are from an entrepreneur background, who may not be, hard-bred politicians, in the literal sense of the word. So he's an MTech in computer science from Illinois Institute of Technology. He's got that Harvard University background, and has also served in various parliamentary standing committees.
Right. So you have a mix of kind of people with that entrepreneurial technocratic background, and then you have people who are from a much more sort of traditional political pool.
Also, Vasu, in political sense, he's relatively young. He'll be counted as a political youth at 57.
Oh yes, absolutely. Youth wing. President of the youth wing. But from Karnataka now you have someone who is representing the other sort of polarity we were talking about, from a quote-unquote political quota, Shobha Karandlaje.
Sushri Shobha.
So this is again interesting, Sanket, because she's somebody, again, I mean, one didn't sort of see her name doing the rounds till the very last minute.
Correct. So there are quite a lot of surprises from the original list of names to what was finally the list.
Yes.
Some of the names people got right, but that's how Narendra Modi likes to operate, that, see, I caught you. You never got to know.
So while with someone like her, while I can see that she would again tick the boxes of representing the South, Karnataka, a politically important state for the BJP, she's also a woman, relatively young. But again, when it comes to question of governance and all of that.
No, I think this has got to do with political representation, Vasu. From North Karnataka, South Karnataka. Remember, Karnataka is also a unit which is deeply faction-ridden for the Bharatiya Janata Party. So they're trying to figure, so she represents Dakshin Kannada in Karnataka. So this is purely representational politics. Not to say that she will not be an efficient administrator.
No, that's true. I mean, but
she served as a cabinet minister in Karnataka.
No, of course she has been, and she's also a very close associate of Yediyurappa. But she's again part of this new breed of Karnataka politicians who are extremely strident, extremely aggressively vocal about their Hindutva sort of pronouncements.
Correct.
So it's interesting to see her actually finding a place in the cabinet.
In fact, she held portfolios like food and civil supplies, power, rural development, Panchayati Raj system in the Karnataka government. So I really wonder what her portfolio is going to be as a central minister. 54 years old.
Another youngster.
Sri Bhanu Pratap Singh Verma.
So, Mr. BPS Verma, Bhanu Pratap Singh Verma, another person from Uttar Pradesh, this time around from the region of Bundelkhand. You see, the BJP took great pride in saying that we have not just addressed states, but also regions.
Correct.
So, there's one from Eastern UP, Purvanchal. Then you've got one from Bundelkhand.
Yes.
Mr. Verma is from Bundelkhand. He's a five-term MP. Was also an MLA in the UP Vidhan Sabha. 3 decades of public life. And actually no ministry ever. So this is going to be very, very significant. What portfolio he'll be given.
Right. You know, Sanket,
Jalon in Uttar Pradesh.
Right. At the end of the day, you know, regardless of what portfolio gets, one suspects that given now how bloated the Modi 2.0 cabinet has become, hitting close
I'll give you the numbers.
80.
I'll give you the numbers. There were 53 earlier, then 12 resigned. So the present strength is 41 and 36 new faces have been added. So the council goes up to 77, whereas the total strength can still be 81. Which means if Mr. Modi wants, he can add up to 4 more ministers.
Yes. So you actually have almost reached the maximum limit. Huge cabinet now.
Yeah, maximum government.
Maximum government. And so I suspect, as you said, that this is going to be a core team of performers with this long tail of people who are essentially those who've been accommodated for political reasons. And in a sense, whether they're all able to perform up to par or not doesn't become significant, because as long as you have a core engine that's ticking along, you're fine. But if that core engine starts to sputter, that's when you start getting into trouble.
Correct.
Because even now, Sanket, if you think about it, there's so many ministers, even amongst the 53, one would have been hard put to remember what they were up to.
All right, that's Srimati Darshana Vikram Jardosh. Again, representation from Surat in Gujarat. She is a Lok Sabha MP. This is her 3rd term. She's also been a corporator of Surat Municipal Corporation and a member of the Gujarat Social Welfare Board. 4 decades of public life. Director of Sanskruti and Art and Cultural Organization, if that gives us a sense of perhaps what could be her portfolio. I don't know, very difficult to judge as of this moment, but Vasu, representation from Gujarat seems to be not as extensive as Uttar Pradesh, but right up there.
That's right. I think the breakup that we were given is 7 from UP, 5 from Maharashtra and 4 each from Gujarat and Karnataka. So quite a sizable number in terms of the overall scheme of things. And as you said, again, poll-bound states. So
this has everything to do with elections and political compulsions. Even the Gujarat unit is noticing certain amount of political irritation within the BJP. So lots of dynamics which are at play here. Now the next person, if the same list is being followed, could be the person who has in all likelihood replaced Dr. Harshvardhan from the Delhi quota.
Right.
Is now walking up to take oath as a minister in the Narendra Modi cabinet. She's a Lok Sabha MP. This is her 2nd term. She's been a member of the NDMC, that is the New Delhi Municipal Corporation, is a noted spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, is a Supreme Court lawyer and a social worker and also an LLB from Delhi University.
ईश्वर की शपथ लेती हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगी। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता को अक्षुण्ण रखूंगी।
So let's Sanket also bring in our guests who are, as Meenakshi Lekhi takes oath, patiently listening in. We've got Deshratan Nigam, political analyst, supports the RSS, Javed Ansari, senior journalist, Nalini Singh, senior journalist, Sharad Pradhan, senior journalist, Charan Singh Sapra, spokesperson of the Congress. Nalini Singh, sorry for the long wait, but it is a very long...
20 more ministers to be sworn in, Vasu.
20 more ministers to be sworn in, so it's a long haul. Nalini Singh, your thoughts on what you've seen so far?
Vasu, politics is really about winning elections. And this is what you see over here. So one can paper...
Okay. Nalini Singh,
but
yes,
you know, Vasu,
we've lost your audio for a second.
We've been talking a lot about this, Vasu, but the point is winning an election or representing people in cabinets for the purpose of winning an election particularly a bad thing? I think I was asked this question also by someone in the BJP. Maybe we can get a reaction on that too.
Yeah, sorry, Nalini Singh, go ahead. We lost your audio, but you're back.
So I'm not, Vasu, if you can hear me, I'm not saying whether it's good or bad, but politics is about winning elections. When you win one election, it's all about the next election that you must win. So, you know what?
Okay.
So one can put a very nice, give a little title that earlier there were more politicians and now there are more politicians, administrators, or only administrators. But if you will forgive the expression, I am actually amused at the political cross-dressing, because you find over here earlier when you said that the highly educated people were not necessary. It was hard work. I don't have to go to Harvard, but they have actually...
Okay. There's some slight audio issues there.
Their most educated minister, Dr. Harshvardhan. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear now?
Yeah, what we'll do is, Nalini Singh, let's just take you offline for a second. We'll fix your audio and get you back on.
That's Annapurna Devi. She's a Lok Sabha MP from Kodarma in Jharkhand.
Yes.
She's a first-term MP, 4-time MLA from Jharkhand and Bihar when Bihar was undivided. And she's served as cabinet minister in the government of Jharkhand, holding portfolios like irrigation, women and child welfare, registration. Also served as the Minister of State for Mines and Geology in the government of Bihar at the young age of 30. She's all of 51. So will be counted as among the young ones in this cabinet.
In fact, it's interesting because we were given this advance spin that this could end up becoming the youngest cabinet ever.
Yeah.
And then the average age to us was disclosed as 58.
Yeah.
But our research found that the UPA 2 cabinet was actually 57. It was younger than this. And Modi 1 was 57.5. So even Modi 1 was younger than this cabinet. This is a cabinet which is 1 year older. But sorry, let me just bring in Javed Ansari. Javed Ansari, your thoughts on what you're seeing so far?
Well, this is all about politics, perception, and also, of course, performance. They are largely trying to redress some of the social imbalances. A lot of emphasis on bringing on board the non-Yadav OBCs. So you see Mr. Baghel, Ms. Anupriya Patel. And to add to what Sanket was saying, she's also been brought in because she was smarting on the side, and they were Mr. Akhilesh Yadav and his group were trying to woo her. Her mother is already leads a breakaway faction, and the fear was that she could also jump ship. Yes, of course, Harshvardhan pays the price. I don't know, was he entirely alone to blame? I'm not so sure. I'm perplexed by why Ravi Shankar Prasad and Prakash Javadekar had to go, and what is the kind of role that they have in mind for him. But again, and this, to my mind, is the cabinet, the face of the cabinet that will go to the polls in 2024.
Okay. Meanwhile, Mr. Narayan Swamy, who's also from Karnataka, just Chitradurg in North Karnataka, just took an oath. So another name from the south.
So, the same point that we were talking about regions being represented. So you saw South Karnataka, Central Karnataka, North Karnataka. It's being adequately represented in the cabinet. In fact, the next person hails from another region. This is, by the way, my home region from my home state of Uttar Pradesh, the Awadh region.
Okay.
That's the MP from Mohanlalganj in Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Kaushal Kishore. He's a second-term MP. now being inducted into the Modi cabinet.
No wonder, Sanket, you suddenly perked up. You were starting to flag a little bit, but then you perked up.
Sub-nationalism has a very important role, you know.
Sub-national.
If you can have cabinets,
right?
Cabinet berths allotted.
Yeah.
Why can't we talk about it?
Exactly. You're like, there, that's my guy. But Deshratan Nigam, your thoughts on this kind of almost paradox where the BJP on one hand says that we don't believe in this sort of caste, old style identity politics, it's all about merit. But then you get into this very granular caste based, sub-region based kind of assignment of portfolios.
Vasu, in fact, I would not take it caste, but I would say it's a micromanagement of the regions within a state and also the macro management overall of the political scenario to be unfolded in future. So caste equations do matter, but I would rather give importance to the micro regions within the state, which are being like Purvanchal or the Awadh, as just pointed out. So that's a very clever strategy, I would say, and especially the kind of...
No, but
what
one
about
moment.
Talent?
One moment. I would say that this is a strategy which has been followed since time immemorial, Mr. Deshratan Nigam.
Yes.
All political parties have done this.
No, but the BJP has perfected that art. Others probably have to learn a lot from BJP. And the fact remains, that, you know, whatever you may say, politics is competitive. You have to win elections, and only then governance comes into the question.
No, but the issue is that when you say that you're a party with a difference, the idea is that you don't do this kind of quota system, that you just say, listen, I'll assemble the best people for the job. I don't care where they come from. But this is very much, in fact, this is going even more granular quota-wise than possibly I've ever seen covering politics.
By the way, that's Mr. Ajay Bhatt, who's going to represent the Nainital Udham Singh Nagar area in Uttarakhand. He's a first-term MP and lands himself a position at the high table straight away.
Right. So, because Dr. Nishank was dropped, Uttarakhand, I suppose you needed to also have a representation from there. So, that could also explain why he's been elevated. But Mr. Sapra, Charan Singh Sapra, Congress Party, what do you make of it so far? Because in addition to the people who've been inducted, look at also the number of people who've been dropped. Would you at least compliment the government on that they've had to take some tough decisions, dropping close to a dozen non-performers?
See, I feel they have taken this sort of tough decisions because they needed a damage control badly. Or probably, I see this as also a diversionary tactic from the failed economy, from the failed unemployment situation, from the failed COVID management or the failed GST management system which this government has shown. And I feel just to cover up, they have done this exercise, and probably the actual fault is with the engine of the train. But here what we are seeing that the coaches are being changed. So actual fault is with the engine, but coaches are being changed. That's what we are observing. And we are seeing that how the ministers are being rewarded also, like MOS Finance is being rewarded. He's being promoted for putting the economy into shambles. And I feel if performance is the criteria, then actual resignation should be of finance minister, should be of petroleum minister, Mr. Pradhan, the agriculture minister, Mr. Narendra Singh Tomar, and also the defense minister, Rajnath Singh, because under whom China has come into the boundary of India.
No.
So these are the
Mr. Sapra, I mean, I know that, when if wishes were horses, as they say, you're asking for the resignation of the entire cabinet. But at the moment, we have, again, representation from UP. Okay. Representation from UP, Mr. B.L. Verma, Rajya Sabha MP from Uttar Pradesh. He stepped up to the mic. He's going to be entering the cabinet as well. But Nalini Singh, just wanted to ask you that, those big sort of dropping of the names that Javed was talking about, many of those coming in at the very last minute before the portfolios, before the swearing in. Ravi Shankar Prasad, Prakash Javadekar, quite surprising.
Vasu, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, fine. Vasu, I think that this is a definitely resignation at the last moment. I don't think that this is all calibrated. These are not people. These two ministers that you mentioned, as well as, well, these two especially, are the vocal ministers. And they have a great sense of purpose in what they're doing and a huge amount of, self-estimation and empowerment. So these people have obviously felt slighted, I would imagine, and that's why it's come at the last moment. But we are actually, one should do a little bit of a study, because the more, reticent ministers who did not promote themselves, such as Pokhriyal, such as Gangwar, such as even Harshvardhan, these are not people who were up there like Ravi Shankar Prasad was in Javed, but even they were dropped. But I would say one element that I find is Meenakshi Lekhi. She has for 7 years held her tongue. She has never said anything controversial apropos the government, and she has always sailed very close to the wind and has been rewarded. But Vasu, I think the larger point is what I was calling earlier the political cross-dressing. You got here, you were taking Jyotiraditya Scindia and saying it's all par for the course. Now he's just a BJP person.
Right.
You are taking Narayan Rane, who's had a criminal record, money laundering record, and we are saying we are overlooking that. Now he's our cabinet minister. There are so many things that are happening that we are not talking about. But I do think that this is a great cleanup. 20% of the cabinet gone is not a small thing.
All right, I just want to jump in.
Yes, Vishnu, come in.
We've got Ajay Kumar being sworn in over there, Lok Sabha MP, second term as an MP. He served 3 decades in public life. He's 60 years old. Awadh is the area that he represents. That's Ajay Kumar, who's just been sworn in. So we are about a little more than halfway down that list. It started at 6 p.m. So that swearing in continues. Chauhan Devusin is the next person. He's the Lok Sabha MP from Kheda in Gujarat. It's going to be a second term in MP. Let's just listen in.
No, but Vishnu, this is the interesting point. As we now see Mr. Chauhan Devi Singh, I think he's going to be the 4th MP from Gujarat who's come in. Deshrata Nigam, do you want to respond to that? Firstly, what do you make of the fact that you've dropped so many prominent ministers, particularly Ravi Shankar Prasad? Did that come as a surprise to you? Deshrata Nigam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
What do you make of that? That you drop someone like a Ravi Shankar Prasad, but then you've also taken someone like a Narayan Rane, who, as Nalini Singh pointed out, I mean, first, he's an import from the Shiv Sena and the Congress, and second, the BJP itself has levelled multiple charges against him.
The fact is that if people like Ravi Shankar Prasad and Harshvardhan have been asked to, resign, and they have resigned, that means they are thinking about them to provide some kind of a responsibility in the BJP organization. Probably a big role, because Bhupendra Yadav has come from the party inside the cabinet. There are vacancies out there. There is a distinct possibility. And second, a strategy, whether it is in the Ministry of Law or Health, is very time specific. Certain strategies have worked. Now new strategies are required, new fresh ideas are required, and therefore new people are being brought in. That is also a possibility and the thought process which may be going on. And obviously, politics is competitive. Therefore, you would see people coming from Gujarat, UP, and the other states where the elections are going on. And then that's perfectly normal in politics, Vasu.
Okay. But I guess, and Vishnu is also joining us, that then how is this different? Javed Ansari, if Javed Ansari is there, is this business as usual? Politics, Javed Ansari has left us, but Nalini Singh, then is it just business as usual? Politics, if you say I'll give regions representation, I'll give caste representation?
Vasu, are you asking me?
Yes, Nalini Singh.
Okay, I feel that you are absolutely right, except in this case there is you can see authoritarianism playing out more than in other governments. And what I see over here is caste, allies, regions. And I think later on you might even see religion and messaging. And what we are missing out is how to do the Congress party in. Because the most amazing thing is that when you look at the Panchayat election results of 2017
yes.
And the Zilla Panchayat and all, Congress actually had a huge amount of votes. It was number 2 by very slim margin. So I think the Prime Minister and Amit Shah know much more than we do. They have been through the entire exercise of looking at the Panchayat elections and the amount of votes that the Congress drew. So the idea now would be to pulverize the Congress even more in this particular, perhaps last but one reshuffle.
In fact,
I think that they've done a good job there.
I just wanted to go across to Mr. Charan Singh Sapra for a moment. You know, in a sense, if you look at all of the high-profile exits, would you say that your core agenda for the next session of Parliament, the monsoon session, has essentially been written that if the key issue of the Congress has been non-performance of the government across ministries, then the fact that you've got 3 very high-profile resignations has essentially written the script for you?
See, I would like to here say that actual resignations, like the economy of the country is in shambles, I have already said. The NPA is hovering around the GDP is hovering around the -8%. The NPAs have gone for more than 25 lakh crores. The bank frauds have gone above 6 lakh crores. We are seeing there's a rampant crony capitalism also. Actual resignation is required of the finance minister, Nirmala
right. So the fact that there are 3 high-profile resignations isn't good enough for you. That essentially, I mean, you are now going to ask for a lot more.
Of course,
if you look at the resignation of the health minister, Mr. Sapra, in the last 1.5 years or so, there's perhaps been no portfolio more important than health, given the emergency that we are in. Right, so you've got the government accepting that something is wrong. Not only the minister, the MOS health is also gone. Right, there'll be a new health minister, new MOS. Will this pave the way for a complete change? Because there are lots of advisors there as well. Isn't this an indicator that this government, wants to try and change to make things better?
See, Vishnu, beyond this indicator, I would like to say that National Disaster Management Authority, that comes under Prime Minister. Actually, Prime Minister heads this National Disaster Management Authority. Now, if there are any faults with the Health Ministry, then automatically the Prime Minister is also linked to it. Prime Minister is also responsible for it. So he should also take the onus of the mismanagement which the country has seen during COVID management. So it is all about what I earlier said, that problem is with the engine of the train, but we are seeing a reshuffle or the coaches being changed.
Okay, well, just now we saw Vishnu, we saw Shri Kapil Moreshwar Patil. He is one of the Maharashtra contingent. He's from Bhiwandi. He just came and took an oath. Before that, we had another MP from Karnataka, Bhagwant Khuba from Bidar in North Karnataka. He took an oath, and now Pratima Bhaumik from Tripura West. So we are seeing now, the Northeast also being represented.
Background is in farming.
Background in farming, right.
And she's a first-time MP. She's serving her first term as an MP presently.
Right.
From Tripura West, as you mentioned.
Okay.
Interesting that lots of faces from the northeast of the country who have been represented this time.
That's right. So totally in all, according to the government's own handout, 5 faces from the northeast coming into the ministry this time, in keeping with this overall sort of social engineering, regional engineering. But what about talent engineering?
Right.
This is the big question, Deshrata Nigam, that given that you have such big important portfolios that are now fallen vacant, health, INB, IT, all of that, do you think that you look at these faces that have come in, and does that inspire you? You think any of these people up for it?
In fact, Vasu, let me tell you, just because some of these people are unknown does not mean they are not talented. They are educated, they have the experience at the ground level, and they are getting that experience in the center now. And slowly,
who would you say, Desh, when you look at the new list, give me 2-3 names which jump out at you and say, okay, these could be high performers?
See, Rajiv Chandrasekhar is one of them, and Meenakshi Lekhi is another who can perform. These two immediately come into my name, and there are others also. And if you look at the entire, the cabinet, there are 68 having graduate degrees, 13 lawyers, 6 doctors, 5 engineers, 3 civil servants. So overall, these are professionally qualified people. Just because some of them are unknown does not mean they are not talented. And today's experience that they would be gaining, they would become senior, ministers tomorrow, and they will be known.
Right.
They have to perform or perish. So therefore, they are also being tested at the same time, and none of these people would want to, perish. They have to perform.
Right.
Subhash Sarkar is the next person being sworn in now. He's a Lok Sabha MP from Bankura in Bengal, serving his first term as MP. He's also a doctor. So some leaders of the BJP in Bengal being rewarded, some haven't been rewarded. So it's a bit of a balance as far as Bengal is concerned. And interesting given the fact that the BJP did disastrously in the elections over there. But still some important representation coming in.
So Smita Prakash, ANI also joining us. Smita, I just wanted to first get your take, because it's the first time we're having a chance to talk to you after that, that big news about the resignations, Prakash Javadekar and Ravi Shankar Prasad. Your quick take on that. What did you make of that?
Yeah, when I was last on your show during the daytime, I think we were all shocked that it's going to be Ravi Shankar Prasad who's getting the axe. In fact, you asked me if I'm not mistaken, and I thought he won't get the axe. He'll get 2 MOSs to assist him. That's what was my take. Goes to show how much we can guess as far as this government making its cabinet is concerned. You just showed right now, people taking oath, and this is across the board. Everybody is saying, "Par hum inko to jante hi nahi hai." That's just it. 5 ministers from 4 states in the northeast: Assam, Arunachal, Manipur, Tripura. So these are people who are not known to the people like us. The PLUs of Delhi, Delhi reporters. They may not know these people, but they come with a wealth of experience. Right. They have won. Some of them have won in state assemblies. Some of them have won in come to the center. As far as the resignation, coming back to your question, yes, on the big 12 who have resigned, it's quite shocking, because all the op-eds that we have been reading in the past, in the run-up to this cabinet formation, nobody guessed that so many would go. 1 out of 5 has gone from this
Smita, let me ask you this.
Team. Now, it just goes to show that there seems to be. Go ahead.
And Smita, I just trying to understand what the bigger message then, and we've spoken a lot about representation, sub-regional representation, be that as it may, but it's these 3 or 4 big names, right, of ministers who've been let go of. Ravi Shankar Prasad. Internationally, there's been condemnation of India as far as his battle against Twitter is concerned. India's handling of COVID has been seen to be disastrous internationally. The health minister Harshvardhan has gone, his deputy has gone as well. Prakash Javadekar, in many senses, the face of the government, the primary spokesperson of the government, he's somebody who's gone as well. So I'm just trying to understand if this has something to do with fixing or changing the image of the government, not just nationally, but perhaps even internationally.
I think it's more than image, I think it's content too, Vishnu, because if it had been just the INB minister gone, just the health minister gone, or just Ravi Shankar Prasad gone. It's not that. IT minister, every ministry has been shaved off, either the MOS or the MOS and the center. So it's a cleanup. I think in the past, ever since this new government came, the first year was this plethora of changes that they wanted to bring in. But then came COVID and everything went into a freeze mode. And I think the Modi government has kind of figured out that they have these next 2 years to deliver on all their promises. And they're going to be heading into 2024 with 2 terms. So in just before doing that, they need to bring into effect everything that they had promised in the 2014 election, right, which could not be done in the 5 years, and then in the 2019 election, which was promised. They have to deliver on that. So that meant a complete overhaul. Modi has already expressed, and even Gadkari has expressed frustration with the bureaucracy not implementing some of the policies and programs, or the sluggish bureaucracy. So I think the new team,
they will have to deliver. Okay.
I would guess that the Modi and Amit Shah team want is to implement and deliver.
Okay. As we speak, Rajkumar Ranjan Singh, who's from Inner Manipur, first term MP, he's stepping up to take an oath. Let me just ask you, we've got Ashutosh also joining us, as is Sushmita Deb of the Congress, Asif Bhamla also, BJP, is with us. Ashutosh, your take on what you're seeing so far?
Vasu, I think if the exercise has been so mammoth, there has to be some basic reasons for this. Otherwise, no government and no prime minister changes its government almost completely. It's a completely new government in that sense. So what has been the reason? The reason has been that the BJP government and the Modi government in the last 1.5 years has been facing the unprecedented crisis. There is a health crisis, there is an economic crisis, there is a foreign policy crisis. And that's why Mr. Harshvardhan has, if has been sacked or resigned, I do not know. But that means that is an admission on the part of the government that they messed up on the issue of the health crisis or the managing the corona. Now, my worry is that if Nirmala Sitharaman continues to be the finance minister, then what will be the shape of the economy in the coming days? Because economy has been the biggest disappointment. Many people can say, and many people can argue that economy is in bad shape because of the corona. But if you go back in the March 2020, you remember the 8 consecutive quarters, the economy was slipping from 8% to 4%, and finally it was dipping below 4%. So and the unemployment was 45 years at the high on its peak. So if that was the case of economy, obviously it has gone worsened during the corona crisis.
I just want to ask, if I may, Sushmita, your reading of this, and B, Mr. Chidambaram was very stern in his remarks when he sort of seemed to indicate that ministers like, and he was referring to the health minister, those who sort of work, and reflect the views entirely of the government are those who are the fall guys, and in a sense said that that's what Harshvardhan was. So, I mean, is that perhaps what the Congress now argues, that you've got a couple of ministers who are out, but they are essentially the fall guys for a larger problem in governance?
See, I think the people on this debate who are seeing this as accountability, I can tell you for sure that that's not what this is about. To my mind, it is simple. 22-23, you have a whole lot of states going into elections. Whether it's Himachal, whether it's Manipur, whether it's Tripura, whether it's Gujarat, whether it's Punjab, whether it's UP. So this cabinet reshuffle has a lot to do with those elections than Corona or any such thing. Because what Ashutosh ji said, if it was a question of accountability, the first person who should have been dropped from this cabinet is Nirmala Sitharaman. In fact, they are talking about promoting Anurag Thakur. I don't know whether it's happened. I haven't been watching TV. But this is about the next set of elections.
Let's get Asif Bhamla to respond to that. By the way, we just saw there Bharti Pawar from Maharashtra, Dindori. She just took oath. But, Asif Bhamla, this point that if you are really trying to fix governance and you're trying to fix the stress areas for the government, the economy has been in terrible shape even before the pandemic. Why is Nirmala Sitharaman still there?
Well, about Nirmala Sitharaman, obviously the decision is of the government to have to pick on the faces. There are a lot of them have continued and a lot of them have been changed. But what I want to say,
do you agree with that? Do you agree that she's staying on there even though the economy has just under her watch been in free fall?
Well, the economy, it's not just India that the economy is troubling. It's a global aspect. We've seen the pandemic taking the most of all of us, of the entire country, and the economies of so many countries have been doomed. Doesn't mean that we've done. Doesn't mean that we got to forget or forgive. But having said that, I would still compliment the government to have dropped more than a dozen big names. You see, I mean, because it is looking for a new makeover. People who will, if you see, every aspect has been taken into consideration. We've got new faces like Ashwini Vaishnavi. He's from Wharton. So the younger faces we've got from Maharashtra. We've got fabulous representation in the form of Narayan Rani, who's got tremendous experiences as well. Then similarly in Telangana, which is the state which the BJP is certainly eyeing. So that also, there has been a cabinet birth that has been given. So certainly, even states where there are electoral aspects, of course, as a party, it is going to certainly give birth legitimately to those of them. And I don't think the opposition should have any objection to that. So the government is trying to create a narrative of a changing image, okay? I mean, in the sense that they have even accommodated relatively unknown people. It's not that, I mean, big stalwarts have been just told to rest.
All right, I just want to just tell our viewers, Mr. Bhavla, 1 second, about, who we saw in the swearing in just now.
The government is...
Yeah, go ahead. So, go ahead. Yes,
Vishweshwar Tudu, first time Lok Sabha MP from Odisha, from Mayurbhanj. He hails from Cuttack. So he is... he's a Lok Sabha MP serving in his first term, and he was sworn in over there. He's 56 years old. I just wanted to go back to Smita Prakash. Smita, a lot of people continue to ask about Ravi Shankar Prasad. Why would the government assess that he was not good enough in what he was doing, either as law minister, IT minister, or telecom? He seemed to sort of generate the government's policy in all these areas, a hardline nationalist position, certainly in telecom. Even on Twitter, you can call it, waging a battle against a global giant for, the sake of nationalism, which is the USP of this government. So what did he do wrong?
I am at sea. I really don't know the actual reason why he got the axe. Yes, you are right in saying that he was waging these battles, but they seem to be the government seemed to be waging these battles with its back to the wall. Now, whether it's because the government had a losing case, or whether the person who was fighting it did not put in his entire effort, that's for the government to decide. But I think a lot was being said that many of these ministers will be going to the Sangathan, will be going to the organizational level, will be helping in the states. But I don't see Mr. Javadekar or Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad going and working in the states which are going to go in for polls, which is in Punjab or in Uttar Pradesh. They are not from those states. Elections are over in Maharashtra, elections are over in Bihar. So I don't know where these two will go. So I really can't say as to why they both got the axe, because they were fronting the government as far as defending it is concerned, whether the INB ministry or whether in the law ministry. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been axed, because but what I am saying is that one doesn't really know why this happened.
No, it was quite curious. By the way, we just saw another important face from the West Bengal, Shantanu Thakur, who's an MP from Bongaon, who's also from the all-important Mathua community, very important Dalit community for the BJP in West Bengal. Young
and
leader.
He's young, 38, right?
Young, that's right. Young leader.
So this is where the average sort of balances out, Vasu, from going well beyond 58 to, with 38, so it comes down a little bit.
That's right. But overall, if we wanted to just look at the big picture now coming up out of this swearing in, as we now start reaching the end of this very long tail of ministers, do you feel, Sushmita Dev, that you may turn around and say that, look, this is all cosmetic and all of that, but given that if the government wanted to signal a reset, that by conducting this massive exercise, they've taken some of the sting out of the opposition's attack?
Listen, let me make it crystal clear. This massive cabinet reshuffle is nothing to do with governance. It's still going one man when it comes to it. So who the health minister and who the finance minister is doesn't matter. But this is about preparation of the next set of elections. And please don't put so much of energy into where Ravi Shankar Prasad is going to go or no, or that he can go to Karnataka or not, he may well be sent to Gujarat to go and work there. So please, I'm again repeating myself, this is not about accountability. This is about rebooting vis-a-vis electoral politics. That's all it is. It will still be a government in which power will be totally centralized, and governance, there's going to be no change in its quality, I assure you that.
Prasad being removed have to do with electoral politics?
No, I said this reshuffle is not dropping who, to include some people. So do not think that they've dropped Ravi Prasad for this or that. They may well place him somewhere else equally important in the organization. We don't know. So don't look at it like, oh, he's been cut out of the cabinet and punished for something.
Okay.
Let's wait, Vishnu. It's just the beginning. Let's wait for the next couple of weeks and see where these people who have been dropped are now placed.
All right. Also, just while we were talking, Mr. Munjapura Mahendra Bhai from Surendranagar in Gujarat just took an oath as a member of the government, and also coming up next is Mr. John Barla, who's from Alipurdwars in the northern part of West Bengal, tea garden worker. That's his region. But also Vikas Mishra of the LJP is here with us. Vikas Mishra, I believe you are in the Chirag Paswan camp of the LJP, is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Not in the Chirag Paswan camp. When you're talking about Chirag Paswan, you must be talking about LJP camp.
Okay, you're saying you are
make
LJP.
yourself perfectly clear.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's very clear.
You can certainly take that position at least on a television panel. But
definitely.
Is it no? So
whenever you are talking about Chirag Paswan,
okay, all right. Okay, fair enough. Here's the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you feel heartburn then when you saw Mr. Pashupatinath Paras coming up and taking oath, even though Chirag Paswan had said, I will go to court, I will protest?
I just want to very much clear. Sri Pashupatinath Paras has already been expelled from the Lok Janshakti Party. So nothing remained to say for his anti-party activities. Already he is no more with LJP. Whatever
but he's got the LJP quota. He has got inducted on the LJP quota. Now, where does that leave you?
I'm just very much clearly I'm telling you, he is not a part of LJP. LJP is Chirag Paswan. National President of LJP is only Mr. Chirag Paswan.
But
Mr. Pashupati Paras even not a part of the LJP.
No,
he
but
may
that's
not be part of the LJP, but he is now in the cabinet.
He was one of your foremost leaders. He's coming in as an LJP representative.
Already our national president, Mr. Chirag Paswan, already filed in the court. We've seen the court everything, na? Because whenever you are talking about LJP, Pashupati Kumar Paras he has been already expelled. From the party. He is not there. That is very much clear.
I would be very curious.
Personally,
I would be very curious, Vikas Mishra, if someone is able to actually dislodge a cabinet minister through a court order and then get themselves reappointed. If that happens, by the way, it will be, as far as I could tell, a first. If Chirag Paswan is able to pull that off.
Chirag Paswan has a strong vision for Bihar first and Bihari first. We already very much clear about that. Bihar should be on the top. Bihari should be on the top. What's wrong in that?
Okay, I just want to go across to what's happening now, Dr. L. Murugan. So this is representation from the south. There have been a couple of leaders from Karnataka. This is a leader from Tamil Nadu, from Kongu Nadu, 44 years old. He's a lawyer.
Yes.
And Vishnu, was vice chairperson of the National Commission of Scheduled Castes as well.
That's right, Vishnu. He's the state BJP president.
Yeah.
He's also a leader of the SC Dalit community, and also, as you mentioned, Tamil Nadu. So he's ticking all those different boxes, and is sort of bolstering the southern representation on this cabinet, which has been somewhat weak compared to the other states.
And Vasu, there's just one leader left after him, Nishit Pramanik. He's the Kuch Bihar Lok Sabha MP. He's been a school teacher in primary school.
Right.
And he's from Jalpaiguri in North Bengal.
Okay. So as this marathon wraps up, 1.5 hours swearing in, 43 ministers, huge, almost 80 member cabinet, Asif Bhamla tells me at the end of it, what as an Indian citizen, as a viewer, as a political analyst, what does one take away from it? Can we look at this huge bench strength and go, wow, some amazing new talent has been inducted? And if so, who? Who jumps out at you that you'd say, okay, here are people who can, who suggest
there is
governance, performance, reset, turning things around?
Of course, as we are aware that there are nearly 30 new faces that have come across, and people with huge amount of self-estimation have been incorporated into that. Of course, the poll arithmetic has to.
No. But I'm asking you to give me some names. Asif Bamla, give me 3 names of the new inductees who you think gives you some hope that these guys will be the high performers.
You have a Bhupender Yadav. I mean, he's an organizational man, and he's a leader of immense credentials. Then you have Virendra Kumar. You have Jyotir Scindia. I mean, these are all the new fresh. It's a fresh breeze of all. Jyotir has also been a minister earlier, so he's an experienced person as well. And he's aware. We've got Narayan Rane again. He's also a new face. So it's not that.
Narayan Rane.
It's not
There are relatively unknown people who the government has banked
Asif Bamla, Narayan Rane, your own party made so many allegations against him of land grabbing, money laundering, all kinds of things.
And accusations are things which are and which will keep going on.
All right, so when it comes to a day like today, they don't count whatever you said in the past. Ashutosh, you had a comment to make before we take a short break.
There are a lot of things which were said in
Vishnu,
Vishnu,
Mr. Bamla, half a second. Ashutosh wants to come in.
Vishnu, if the Narayan Rane is the poster boy of this cabinet, then I have my comments to be reserved.
There is one interesting face, and I know Vasu discussed it a couple of hours back. Ashwini Vaishnav, and I'm curious to know which sort of portfolio he would sort of fall into. MBA from Wharton, Pennsylvania University, MTech from IIT Kanpur, young at 50 years from Odisha. And it's interesting because Ravi Shankar Prasad had 3 portfolios. The health minister had 2 portfolios. So a lot of these portfolios now emptying up. So a lot of ministers who've now been sworn in, they get an opportunity to get these posts. So a lot of these have been freed up. I'm just trying to understand who they might be.
Yeah.
राष्ट्रपति भवन के दरबार हॉल में आयोजित केंद्रीय मंत्रिमंडल का फेरबदल सह विस्तार का ये विशेष
ceremony now coming to an end at Rashtrapati Bhavan. The swearing in has taken place of all of these ministers. And the portfolio announcements will take place later. I mean, we are told it could even be another 2 days before the portfolio announcements take place. As important as we've been mentioning as the swearing in has been the resignations themselves, with senior leaders Prakash Javadekar, Ravi Shankar Prasad and the health minister Dr. Harshvardhan having resigned as well, in addition to several others. So what exactly is the message, the bigger message that this government is trying to send out over there? Is this entirely about elections, or is this also about a course correction as far as the perception of this government is concerned? I'd like to thank our guests very much for being with us. We need to take a short break, and after that we're going to bring you more updates on who has been sworn in and also more discussion on possible portfolios. Welcome back. The big story we continue to track, the big reboot of the Union Council of Ministers. We'll give you the specifics in a moment, but 15 cabinet ministers, but a large number of exits as well. But out of the present strength of 53 ministers, 12 have resigned. So the strength of the Union Council, 41 now. That means that with the 36 new ministers taking oath today, around 46% of ministers will be new ministers in the Modi government. But on your screen, and that really is the story of the day, perhaps even more than the cabinet expansion itself, those who've actually lost their portfolios. Just look at those names. Ravi Shankar Prasad, the law minister of the country, IT minister, telecom minister, 3 portfolios, some of the most important over there. He is out at a time when he was waging a battle against Twitter. Dr. Harsh Vardhan, in a sense the most important minister given the emergency that we faced over the last year plus. The health minister of the country, he is out along with his minister of state, Ashwini Chaubey. So a wholesale change in the health ministry. Will a lot of the advisors to Dr. Harsh Vardhan also be removed in the COVID management committee? I think a lot of questions will need to be asked, but the opposition already jumping to this and saying that he was the fall guy, he was being subservient and pointing to others as being responsible for the COVID mess. Irrespective, India is in a COVID mess. Prakash Javadekar, another very high-flying minister, very much the face, or a face of the BJP principal spokesperson, he is out as well. So with these 3 exits, what exactly does it mean? There are some other leaders who have also exited. The HRD minister as well, Ramesh Pokhriyal, Sadanand Gowda, Mr. Gangwar is gone, Thawar Chand Gehlot, Babul Supriyo, not being, for his performance obviously in the Bengal elections, and he would certainly feel that, given the fact that there has been representation from Bengal, but not him. Mr. Shambad also out, Ratan Lal Kataria out, Pratap Chandra Sarangi also out. So these are the ministers who have been dropped at this stage. But let's just go through the key ministers who will be cabinet ministers. I'm just going to go through the names. Narayan Rane, he was first on the list of the ministers who was sworn in today. He went from the Shiv Sena to the Congress and now to the BJP. Strong leader from Maharashtra, now minister at the centre. Sarbananda Sonowal, many thought at one stage that he would come back as chief minister of Assam. That didn't come to him, but he very much accommodated in the centre as a result of his performance, where the BJP did very well in Assam. Dr. Virendra Kumar, also in the Council of Ministers, third on the list. Jyotiraditya Scindia, widely expected to be a senior minister. We don't know what portfolio, we don't know any portfolio so far, it's still conjecture. In case you're wondering, portfolio allocation would be announced perhaps in the next 2 days or so. Ramchandra Prasad Singh, Ashwini Vaishnav, Pashupati Paras, who split the LJP in the center of that split. Kiren Rijiju, seen to be a real performer. What is the post that he's going to be getting? Hardeep Singh Puri, Mansukh Mandavia, Bhupendra Yadav, Parshottam Rupala, G. Krishan Reddy and Anurag Thakur, the MOS Finance, are actually going to be given major cabinet berths. Let's go across to Arvind Gunasekara. Arvind, at the end of this entire swearing in, is there one larger message that comes out of this cabinet expansion?
Yeah, Vishnu, it's not just the new inductees. Something that we have to focus on, everyone is speaking about, is the exit. Right. There are some 3 big names that they have quit the cabinet. That includes Ravi Shankar Prasad and also Prakash Javadekar and also the Union Health Minister Dr. Harsh Vardhan. So these 3 are very big names that they quitting the government, they resigning from the cabinet is something, it's a message that the Prime Minister wants to say, that if the performance is not good, however senior you are, you will be axed. So that's the message. What the BJP sources are saying is that Prime Minister, based on the performance assessment has taken this call, and that's led to the axing of 3 very senior ministers, including Prakash Javadekar, Ravi Shankar Prasad and also Dr. Harsh Vardhan. Like you have been mentioning, almost 36 new inductees have been inducted, new ministers have been sworn in into the Union Council of Ministers. If you could make it as a percentage wise, in fact 78, including Prime Minister as on date, there are 78 ministers in the Union Council, and if you could add this 36, it comes to somewhere around 46% of the entire council is new minister. So the government wants to give a new face to the government cabinet ahead of the UP Assembly election and also the run-up to the 2024 election. Hardly just 2 years left from this point, from this 2.5 years left from this point. Within the next 2.5 years, preparing for the Lok Sabha election, BJP wants to have this new face, a completely new government with the young face, more of an young face. That's why what we are seeing is it's a big revamp. It's not just a reshuffle, it's a big revamp in the entire cabinet, where we saw almost 12 ministers resigning, almost 36 ministers joining the cabinet.
All right, Arvind, we'll leave it over there. Thanks very much for joining us. So it's an exciting day, a complete makeover for the Council of Ministers in this Modi government. We'll take a short break, keep analysing all the changes, all the differences, and indeed all the exits that we've seen. Time now for this short break.
So this was a cabinet expansion with more headlines than initially expected. In fact, the major focus wasn't just on who's been sworn in, but also those who have been sacked. But let's just look at the new faces who had an entry today in the swearing in this evening. So there.
I, Sarvananda Sonowal, do swear in the name of God.
Ex-Assam Chief Minister rewarded for sacrificing his post to Himanta Sharma.
Dr. Virendra Kumar.
Also Dr. Virendra Kumar coming there from Madhya Pradesh, a senior BJP MP from Madhya Pradesh, cabinet minister. Jyotiraditya Scindia, well, once a high-profile Congress leader, but rewarded there for giving the BJP a government in Madhya Pradesh. They're sworn in as cabinet minister. Earlier was Minister of State at the independent charge in the Congress. Also Ramachandra Prasad Singh. He's a Rajya Sabha MP from Bihar and also extremely close there to Nitish Kumar. He is of the JDU, the only JDU sworn in. Now, interesting choice there, Ashwini Vaishnav. Now, again, he's a BJP MP. He was earlier once private secretary to Atal Bihari Vajpayee, but also an IS officer. There we have the breakaway from the Lok Janshakti Party, brother of the late Ramvilas Paswan, Chirag Paswan's estranged uncle. Kiran Rijiju, major promotion for him there. He was currently Minister of State for Sports, but he's been promoted to cabinet rank. Also R.K. Singh, Power Minister with independent charge, again gets promoted to cabinet rank, former Home Secretary as well under the UPA.
I, Hardeep Singh Puri.
Hardeep Singh Puri, again a former bureaucrat, currently Civil Aviation and Urban Development Minister with independent charge, also promoted to cabinet rank. And now remember, there are lots of empty cabinet positions, so interesting to see the portfolios. Mansukh Mandavia, again from Gujarat, there gets promoted to cabinet rank. Overall, there are 15 new cabinet ministers. But this really is the big headline. Bhupender Yadav, now he's a key election strategist, works very closely with Home Minister Amit Shah. So key political strategist, now becoming a cabinet minister. And Purushottam, so those are really some of the main ones. But let's go across to all our analysts now. Joining me or whatever. We'll also have, we can see there G. Kishan Reddy being promoted, MOS Home Affairs. Let's just go across to all our guests now. First, the big picture really. And Vasu, Akhilesh, first Vasu, over to you. Because here the headline really seems to be on also the fact that an entire generation of senior BJP ministers seems to have been wiped out from this cabinet.
That's right, Sonia. You're absolutely right to say that the headlines of those who are dropped almost eclipse those who are taken in. But here are 2-3 big takeaways that I see coming from this reshuffle. Number one, if you look at it now, the size of the Modi cabinet has swelled to close to 80. The cap is 81. It has reached 80. This is a government that came in with the slogan of minimum government, maximum governance. The first Modi cabinet in 2014 was just 46 ministers. Now we've reached almost 80. So I think minimum government, maximum governance has gone out of the window. Number two, the question is that having dropped people like Ravi Shankar Prasad, like Harshvardhan, again, big surprise moves, you've now opened up a number of key portfolios that are up for grabs. Health, law, IT, INB, education. Also remember, Piyush Goyal holding multiple crucial portfolios like commerce and railways. Who's going to fill it? Is the talent that has come in strong enough? Do they have the bench strength to fill these important portfolios? That's the big question. Instead of focusing much more on performance, the government seems to be emphasizing politics. For the first time, Sonia, we've actually had the government share background details detailing in granular detail the caste combinations, the regional combinations of ministers. I don't think this has ever happened before, that you've been told how many SCs, how many STs, how many OBCs, within those, how many subcastes of SC, STs and OBCs. So this does seem to be a major shake-up, an attempt to sort of present, as it were, an election time cabinet to shake off some of the backlash of the government being accused of mismanaging the COVID pandemic. But again, talent. That's the big question which still remains unanswered.
Well, let's go across, Vasu, thanks for that. Let's go across to Akhilesh, who's really been tracking the inner stories. I mean, Akhilesh, in fact, you've broken the twists and turns of this cabinet expansion from the beginning on this. What was the thinking? Did the sackings of these prominent ministers, we're talking them of a certain generation, but remember both Ravi Shankar Prasad and Prakash Javadekar used to hold the cabinet briefings. They were the public face of the government. There was no hint at all that they were, in a sense, underperformers. In fact, the recent high-profile spats that Ravi Shankar Prasad has had with Twitter has all been seen as part of very much the government's mainstream agenda. Why did this happen?
Well, it's really surprising, but of course the performance was the key factor why these three senior ministers were dropped, because these three ministers were concerning the ministries which made international headlines, be it IT ministries continuous standoff with the Twitter, or health ministers, handling of the COVID situation, or also Prakash Javadekar's handling of the information broadcasting. So all these three were the key factors how the international headlines were affecting Modi government's image. So this may be the key reason why these three ministers were dropped, and also regional balance were to be maintained, because as far as Bihar is concerned, we know that once you have RCP Singh, Pashupati Paras, these two cabinet ministers coming from Bihar, you would have to drop somebody. RK Singh was the name which was being considered earlier, but now of course RK Singh being given a promotion, and now Ravi Shankar Prasad being dropped, and that's really a surprising move, knowing very well that the opposition will mount an attack offensive and in the coming monsoon session, which is coming on July 19, despite knowing that the Prime Minister has taken the risk in dropping these three key ministers. It's a big surprising move. But of course, coming to this new Council of Ministers expansion, we can say that one thing, Sonia, for sure, that this is the team along with which Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to lead the 2024 campaign of the BJP, because now there's no scope for any further expansion or further induction. So this basically means that these are the people who are going to be leading party in the next election. And of course, the performance is going to be key criteria, and the upcoming elections in the 5 states, this is also a very crucial factor, because in Uttar Pradesh 7 new ministers are being appointed from Uttar Pradesh. This of course sends a very strong message. And also the regions in Uttar Pradesh, each region has been represented. Even 2022 Gujarat elections, we have seen that 5 new ministers coming from Gujarat, maintaining the caste balance. You have 2 Patels and then 3 OBCs from Gujarat. So that balance is also maintained. In Maharashtra, in Madhya Pradesh, in Karnataka, even in West Bengal, where BJP has lost majorly recently in the assembly elections, the BJP has continued to focus on West Bengal, giving 4 bus to these states.
I'm going to come back to you on that breakup, but I just want to go across to both Arvind Gunasekar and also the Sanjay Kumar of the analyst and cephalogist who's joining me to discuss that aspect. But Arvind, just to go across to you, because already you've seen the opposition reactions coming out has been that Mr. Chidambaram saying the Prime Minister is passing on what some would say would be the blame for, in the second year of his second term of the government, 2 years down, we just had that COVID pandemic with so many lives lost. So he's actually trying to get rid of the baggage, in a sense, to shift it away and create an entirely new cabinet and council of ministers here. But as the opposition says that basically the cabinet is all about Prime Minister Modi, it's not really about which ministers occupying which portfolio.
Yeah, Sonia, the opposition parties have been asking for the resignation of Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan Singh for the mismanagement of this, especially the second wave of the pandemic. And this has been the demand of the opposition parties, not just the Union Health Minister. They also said that Prime Minister is equally responsible, because they have been saying that this is a one-man show. This government is a one-man show. Whatever decision that is being taken across the ministries, it is being taken only by the Prime Minister. And that's why, again, with the cabinet reshuffle, it's not just a reshuffle, it's a big revamp. Not just, like you mentioned, not just the people who have been inducted into the cabinet, but also who have been made to resign from the cabinet is a big message. And that's where opposition parties are seizing this, and they are asking that it should not be, the blame should not be passed on to these 3 or 4 ministers, but the buck actually rests at the Prime Minister, and Prime Minister should be equally responsible for the entire mismanagement of the second wave of the pandemic and also the economy. That's what they are saying, that not just the economy, it's not just the pandemic, but also the economy, which is in a slide, which is on a downward trend, that also has to be taken into responsible, and the Prime Minister should be responsible for the entire thing, and he should not pass the blame on the other ministers like Ravi Shankar Prasad, Prakash Javadekar, and also Harshvardhan Singh, etc. So the opposition parties are gearing up for the upcoming parliament session, where they would be upping the ante against the government with all the issues, including the pandemic and also the economy.
Right, of course, the opposition still has to work out I think the biggest benefit for Prime Minister Modi, and even with his new cabinet, will be that the opposition still has to get its act together before Parliament as well. Will there be a new leader in the Lok Sabha for the main opposition party? But let me go across to Sanjay Kumar, who joins us now as well, Professor of the Centre for the Study of Developing Studies. Sanjay Kumar, what's your big takeaways from this major cabinet expansion? Not just expansion, but actually overhaul. We are seeing key ministers dropped, key portfolios now vacant, and various new faces coming in, and likely to be a major shake-up in the portfolios as well.
I think Prime Minister Modi is trying to send out two messages. One is a message to the international community, international media, because the government was getting a bad name internationally because of the mishandling of the pandemic, and also the way Ravi Shankar Prasad was having, to and fro with the Twitter issue. The message is also to the people of this country. I think government clearly knows that people of this country suffered at the time of pandemics too, and people were not happy with the way government has handled the COVID-2 situation. So government needed to fix this responsibility, while government is not ready to accept that anything was bad with regard to handling COVID-2. But the government wanted to send out a message to the people of this country, the voters of this country, and they have now clearly sent out a message that if the person who was in charge, who was the Minister of Health, he has been removed. So this is sending out a message to the people of this country that this government wants the ministers to perform. Also a message to the ministers that if you don't perform, you don't have a place in the cabinet. Besides, there are other headlines which this cabinet reshuffle has taken. The youngest cabinet, also large number of women in the cabinet. We are all talking about various caste communities. So all these headlines, this cabinet reshuffle has been, Prime Minister has been able to grab these headlines. I think there are also two types of approach if we look at the cabinet reshuffle. One is the immediate thing. They have to address they have to address the issues of UP election, Uttarakhand election, and that is why we see large number of people from UP, Uttarakhand being inducted into the cabinet. But remember, the government also want to send out a message, or the BJP want to send out the message that they don't lose so easily. Look at the way they are keeping an eye on West Bengal. There are 4 ministers from West Bengal. So a long-term strategy is also being indicated that that BJP is trying to expand
and the long term.
And the long term.
I just want to go across. We're getting a reaction now from Kiran Rijiju, who's been promoted. He will be cabinet ranked minister. Let's just listen to what he said.
भी मौका देगा हम लोग को जनता का सेवा करना चाहिए. जब भी और जहां भी जो हमको जिम्मेदारी दिया जाएगा, वो जिम्मेदारी को हम दिल से एक तपस्या करके हम लोगों के लिए काम करते रहेंगे. यही हमारा पार्टी ने हमको सिखाया है और यही प्रधानमंत्री जी का अपेक्षा है हम लोगों से.
So Akhilesh, also we've seen the ministers drop. So now there's a sense of uncertainty because we know Prime Minister Modi is always capable of springing surprises. It was interesting also that the resignations of Ravi Shankar Prasad and Prakash Javadekar were only made public literally half an hour before the cabinet expansion. So it didn't take away from the Prime Minister meeting with all his new ministers this morning. We saw him meeting with them, having tea with them. So very informal Prime Minister there. And then the big surprise is just half an hour before the cabinet expansion. Will we see a similar shake-up in the portfolios as well? Because there's so many important portfolios now vacant, and plus, of course, you can see a reshuffle of current portfolios of 2. Is the Big Four likely to change at all?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am, because we know that for certainty that the surprise 1.0 when the size of cabinet was given to us and the various combinations and factors. Surprise number 2, when the senior ministers like Ravi Shankar Prasad, Prakash Javadekar, Dr. Harshvardhan, they were dropped. And surprise number 3 is now we are waiting for the surprise, because once the portfolio allotment is done, we will see large number of portfolios being given to the new entrants, because there are 15 new cabinet ministers and 6 MOS independent chairs. So 21 portfolios to be given to different new ministers. So that will be really big distribution exercise.
Actually, I just want to cut across to Narayan Rane speaking right now. Let's go across to him.
प्रथम मी मुंबई महानगरपालिकेमध्ये नगरसेवक झालो 1985 वर्षी. त्यानंतर BST चेअरमन झालो. असं करत करत मी आमदार.
We'll come back to Mr. Narayan Rane, but I just want to go across to both Arvind and Sanjay Kumar, because Arvind, also the point, because we've seen the representation of certain key BJP strongholds as well. We've got Uttar Pradesh, of course, assembly elections. You've got the Gujarat, which is coming up at the end of the year, end of next year. But interestingly, the South, now of course that is where the BJP is weak. We've seen Karnataka get representation. We've seen one inductee from Tamil Nadu. So the AIDMK, no formal alliance there as such. What's the larger message which goes out? You look at it all India, or when you see how the South is viewing this big cabinet expansion?
Yeah, Sonia, like you mentioned, with the 43 who have been sworn in as ministers, at least 36 are new entrants into the cabinet, at least, and 7 have been promoted from MOS rank to cabinet rank. And if you could see of this entire 77+1, including Prime Minister, there are 78 ministers in the cabinet, which comes to at least 46% of the faces are actually new in the cabinet. And if you could see the regional representation, if you could take the South, at least 4 ministers from Karnataka have been inducted and 1 from Tamil Nadu. So at least 5 from southern India, but states like Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Kerala are not actually accommodated in this new revamp. But whereas GK Reddy, who is from Andhra, he has been given a very important portfolio, has been elevated from MOS to cabinet. So that's why if you could see, South has got 5 representation in the new cabinet, but again states like Andhra, Telangana and Kerala has not got much in this present revamp.
Let me just go to Sanjay Kumar on a larger question of this whole political view as well as performance point of view. There are many new entrants we've seen, some of them first-term MPs, though they have experience in state assemblies, some former bureaucrats, administrative experience. There's been a lot of focus on educational qualifications as well. But do you think this is also, in that sense, a ministry which is looking at election more than really election equations, rather than looking at it more as performance or talent as such? And in fact, interestingly, some of the major ministers include imports like Narayan Rane, formerly of the Shiv Sena, and Jyotiraditya Scindia.
Sonia, I think with this reshuffle, Prime Minister Modi is trying to send out lots and lots of messages. First, this element of surprise. He is capable of giving surprises, because many people were thinking that this reshuffle will be centered around having ministers from UP, Uttarakhand, Punjab, because the government would be more concerned about these elections. But if you look at the reshuffle, it's not only about that.
Yes.
So the big message Prime Minister Modi is trying to give is, first, if you look at, if there is a first-time MP who has been inducted into the minister, then he or she has been chosen going by the qualification. So one message which is being sent out is that this is the team, the new team, which has lots and lots of specialists. People have been, have held senior positions in their previous avatar before becoming politicians. So one important message which is being sent out is that specialists are there in the cabinet. Second, some people have been inducted who are third-time or fourth-time MP. So also experience is there, regional balance is there. It's not only about UP election, it's not about only Uttarakhand election. So I think lots and lots of messages, and also we should not forget that the government is also trying to send out a message that this government also cares for the subalterns. A lot of OBCs have been inducted, Dalits have been inducted, lots and lots of messages.
So in fact, you can't reduce this to just one. And Akhilesh, I think that's a point you made earlier also, that this is a very, very carefully thought out expansion. The Prime Minister met with senior ministers, reviewed performances of ministries, met with others to look at this. And of course, JP Nadda and BL Santosh also emerging, with Bhupinder Yadav moving to the government. BL Santosh also emerging as a key election strategist and point person for the BJP as well. But as we are talking, Akhilesh, we know that petrol prices, fuel prices, another major headache for the government. Are we likely to see changes, as I said, in the major portfolios as well? The health ministry changed because, as Sanjay Kumar talked, that perhaps the Prime Minister is seen as responding to what the grief of people were, those deaths in the COVID pandemic. But also now petrol, the economy, also major worries. What are you hearing as of now on the major portfolios?
Well, Sonia, first coming to the role of BL Santosh, his coming from Karnataka is a clear imprint on this new exercise, because we have seen that how at least 3 to 4 new ministers have come from Karnataka, his home state. So there is a clear indication that BL Santosh is quite powerful in this entire exercise, and there is a clear imprint on this exercise. And coming to the portfolio choices, we know that as far as the petroleum prices are concerned, not much options are before the government, and the government knows very well that in the coming monsoon session, the minister concerned is going to face lot of flack from the opposition parties and attack. And also we have been told by the sources that in the afternoon meeting, when all the new ministers went to meet the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister's instructions very clear to the new ministers that they have to remain in Delhi till 15th of August, till this monsoon session gets over. And the second point, he told the ministers that they should be meeting with all the concerned MPs if they come with any issues or any problems, so they have to sort it out and address to all these issues. And third point, the Prime Minister urged them to remain in the house and have to follow the roster duty. Remember, the many ministers who have been dropped, they had a complaint against them that they did not follow the roster duty in Parliament, and they were not present in the house. So this may be the key factor. And coming to the portfolio question, of course there will be challenge, but we've been told by the sources that there will be no change in the top 4 ministries. So that is, of course, there's no surprise. So
Nirmala Sitharaman stays as finance minister.
Yeah, so there's no surprise there as far as the top 4 are concerned.
Right. And Akhilesh, I know this is just speculation, but what are you hearing with many health warnings? Because Prime Minister Modi can surprise everybody. But what are you hearing about, say, what is Anurag Thakur? What are Jyotiraditya Sinha? What are the new cabinet rank ministers getting? Who's getting health? What are you hearing at the moment?
Well, I have not heard about the health portfolio, but yes, of course, Anurag Thakur is speculation that he may get the INB portfolio from Prakash Javadekar, and the law ministry can be given to Bhupinder Yadav, who played a key role. He's a senior lawyer also, and he played a key role in Amit Shah's court cases, and he's a key election strategist also of the BJP, and he was involved in various parliamentary committees, so he can be given a bigger role. Narayan Rane, it has to be seen, maybe he may be given heavy industries, which was given to Prakash Javadekar. So there are at least 21 portfolios which have to be decided and given to the new ministers. So we have to see, maybe in coming 1 or 2 hours, we'll see the president release from the President House about the new portfolio allotments.